Hi, I'm Dr. Schweinsgruber with audioReviews.org in Calgary, and today we are talking about the KBEAR Belief Single Dynamic Driver Earphone, a $159 IEM that has one specialty. It features a pure beryllium diaphragm. So what's so special about a pure beryllium diaphragm? First of all, it is difficult to implement. It's such a stiff material, and secondly, it's expensive. There are only 3 earphones on the market that feature a pure beryllium diaphragm, as far as I know, and one of them is the Dunu Luna at $1,700, and the other one is the Final Audio A8000 at $2,000. And this one is a $159 earphone, and the question is, how good is it? The impedance of 17 ohm is actually very low. However, a sensitivity of 98 dB is also low, which is actually not good, and this requires amplification. And you do need, for this tonality, for this tuning, for this driver, you do need actually a neutral amp. The more powerful the better, but it has to be neutral. You can't go with a warm amp. A warm amp would boost that low end too much and over thicken the lower half of the frequency spectrum. So you do need a strong neutral amp, and driving these with your phone works, but it just doesn't optimize the sound experience. The frequency range of 20 to 20,000 hertz is pretty much standard, and then the cable is pretty fancy. It's a purity of six zeros after the comma cable, 4 strands, 0.78 millimeter connector. This is a nice feeling, nice looking cable, and I have no problems with the cable. It just works fine. Okay, once you have your amplification in place, you're ready to listen to the KBEAR Belief. And when you look at the curve, let's just look at the graph. Again, I was giving the Belief a lot of listening time, but just let's look at the graph, and what you see instantly is this mid-bass hump, broad hump that peaks around, well, it's centered around 100 hertz, a little bit to the left. And you do have, again, your classic pinner gain here of, what's that, 12 dB. That's actually okay. And extension is also good. But so let's just talk about the bass. And that's probably the most polarizing thing. I think the bass is simply a bit much. I do understand why it was tuned like this, because if you pulled this graph down and you had a more subtle bass, then this would come out more and the Belief would be shouty. The good thing is the Belief are not shouty. So the bass is a little bit too much. First I thought it was muffling, I was congesting, it was slow, but it isn't. It was the recording rather. It is just really a little bit much on my eardrums. And a similar bass we had in the Urban Fun Hi-Fi, a similar graph here. I'm just sensitive. When you listen to something like Toto Africa or so, it just hurts at higher volumes, at least to my ears. Some people may think that that bass is not enough, but I think for audiophile type, I'm not an audiophile, I'm just a dude, but for quality listening, classical music and stuff, I found that bass was a little bit much, but the quality of the bass ain't bad. But because you have much bass, there's quite a bit of a rumble going on in this earphone. Now, the good thing is, once you move out of the bass and you move into the lower mid-range, that's vocals, and upper mid-range and into the treble, these are really good, and that's where the driver comes out and plays out its quality. So the voices are not thick. They're not as thick as, let's say, as the TRI i3, but they are fine. They're lean, they're energetic. They have good quality, and I listened in comparison to the 2,500 euro Venture Electronics Elysium, and those vocals are not any thicker. So the vocals are actually good. It's above this punchy, energetic bass that adds warmth to the bass, defines the warmth. The vocals, what do we have? Vocals, they're natural. There's no mid bass bleed into the vocals or upper bass bleed into the vocals. And the upper mid range does not fuel too much energy into the down here into the vocals, so it's not shouty. Is another good point. What is really very good, I find, is treble resolution, and maybe that's where beryllium shines. Typically in these budget mid-fi earphones, the treble smears, the cymbals smear. I never really put much emphasis on that, but in fact, in this case, they're really well defined. There's a very good note definition, and that again, that note definition is very good, going right down into the vocals. Good note definition in the Belief. Soundstage is wide. It's wide because of the energetic mid-range, and that makes it wide. It's tall enough. It's not that deep, but it's deep enough. Again, in comparison, the TRI-i3 is a little bit deeper. TRI-i3 does not have that note definition in the mid-range. It's got a bolder vocals department, but the resolution is lagging behind the Beliefs. It's a different kind of enjoyment in the TRI-i3, which I really treasure. The timbre or timbre in this KBEAR Belief is actually quite natural. The tuner told me it can be a bit metallic. It's not a big deal. It's good. It's just fine. So I listen to classical music, and that was a very enjoyable. So in total, this earphone is well resolving. It's got a swift driver, at least that comes out in this area, in the mid-range, in the treble. I've probably had to dampen that bass a bit. That's probably where I'm sensitive to. But don't forget, there was a lot of hype about beryllium, a lot of hype that tacitly this could compete with a $2,000 earphone, and I don't think it can. But it's a good listen, and it's got this warm tonality. It sounds similar to the KBEAR Diamond, but it's more refined. The KBEAR Diamond is also a warm earphone. KBEAR Diamond is more recessed. It's got more bass, and the mid-range is more recessed. So here the mid-range is more in the foreground. And as always, you find a written review of this earphone, of the KBEAR Belief, on audioreviews.org, and in fact this video is based on this written review. You even find a photo page with nice detailed technical photos of the KBEAR Belief. If you liked this video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, push that bell to receive notifications, donate generously via the PayPal button, although nobody ever does. And most of all, check the links below this video for the written review and all sort of other technical information. And visit our blog, audioreviews.org. Until next time, thank you very much for listening. My name is Dr. Schweinsgruber. Auf Wiedersehen.